Hi, everyone.
Greetings. We're starting a new chapter in the Finnish Mystery. Chapter 7, well, it's Revelation 7, and it's got a new title. The last one we remember was Six Seals and the Papacy. And they're assuming that the Six Seals are all done by 1914, which might explain why they go into this right away. What can we now expect now that 1914 has come and gone? The book being published, of course, in 1917, anticipating that a lot of the things they thought would happen by 1914 would have to happen now by the spring of 1918. They're quite explicit about that. But one of the things they expect to happen very soon is a big surprise, even to us, when we read their analysis of Revelation 7:1. Revelation 7:1 says this. This is the ESV. After this I saw four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding back the four winds of the earth, that no wind might blow on earth or sea or against any tree. Well, what are they going to do with winds, earth, sea, and trees?
Mm.
It won't take us long to find out,
Yeah.
because almost the first thing they want to say when they quote from, which watchtower are they quoting from here? The 1914? Yeah.
Yeah.
The 1914 Watchtower gets most of the next page. So this is showing you very clearly what they expected to happen in 1914 itself. They say the winds of the earth referred to here are, of course, symbolic.
Yeah.
So you're often running down the path that will take you anywhere you want to go.
Which is still their tendency, is to just state things very emphatically and hope that nobody notices that I've just made a statement that's not, it's not an obvious. It's an it's an assumption of yours that
Yeah.
that's what it is. Later on, they say apparently. So I always notice or try and watch for words like that where they just make statements flat.
So 2 pages into this, and we'll go to the end and show you this tendency very clearly. 2 pages in, they say at the end of the next page, consequently reasoning along this basis, and they give you a couple
Yeah.
of texts upon which to reason. Two of them here, though, that are prominent are Jude 6, which we'll read in a second, and Ephesians 2, where they make some kind of equation between the angels that have sinned, mentioned by Peter and by Jude, sinned before the flood, the ones we call the fallen angels, and the principalities and powers of Ephesians 2. There's no equation in Paul that says I'm talking about the same people that Jude talks about this
Yeah.
way. So, do you have any right to make this equation? There's two different sets of spirit beings, one of whom have been given a specific punishment that Peter and Jude tell us is in a place called Tartarus, which the Jews of that day thought of as the lowest level of Hades, hell, Tartarus, and the principalities and powers, which are not confined anywhere. They're all around us, Paul
Yeah.
says, all the time.
I don't remember them teaching this when we were witnesses. I think they separated the two groups.
I think they did.
But here they are trying to just equate them as the same group.
And because they're already past 1914 when they print this chapter, they now have to apply all the things they used to apply to the period between 1874 and 1914. They have to give it an extension of life, all of this. So
Yeah.
what are they going to happen? What do they think is going to happen next? Well, they used to think that Armageddon was to end in 1914, but now they think that the World War I is the Great Tribulation foretold by Christ, and it's going to lead directly to catastrophe. That is, Babylon's going to fall, and the churches,
Yeah.
people are going to be destroyed by millions in 1918, to be followed by anarchy. They think that all that is immediately ahead, but what's here that's not
Yeah.
so familiar now?
But I think the reasoning, going just back to the the angels in Tartarus and the spirit of the world, the power of the world. I think the reason why this is a bit disarming. I mean, I was just like, what are they talking about here? Because combining these two makes them believe, and I'll just read you just a line from the 1914 Watchtower, talking about the fallen spirits. It says, these fallen spirits have been under restraint for these many centuries, but they have exercised their influence to whatever extent they have been permitted. Where do they get that from?
We read in Jude. Let's read the passage in Jude to see what it actually says. A few pages back. Jude verse 6 this is. And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like they have any
freedom
or any ability to cause any trouble.
Now, I think by the time we were pioneers, we had taken this quite seriously, which is, no, that's a different group of spirits.
Yeah.
But here they're obviously not clearly dividing them, are they?
Yeah.
So you get to page 124, where they're still quoting from the 1914 Watchtower, and then they're quoting from the 1911 Watchtower. So it's all from their own publications, but all within the last, 6 years, since 1911, that all these present truths have come to light. And I love the fact that they, up top, they're bragging about the fact that the only people who understand these things clearly are the little flock, which today you of course equate with 144,000. That's why there's so few of us who understand these things clearly.
And they also set up this fear factor that's still in their literature. By the end of that 1914 quote, they say, many of our readers are going to experience the fallen angels being let loose, and they're gonna be the first ones that they're gonna attack God's people. So they try and get you nervous, like.
So the Great Tribulation, which they say is now upon us because 1914 has gone by, the World War has started.
Yeah.
The Great Tribulation, the main targets are you, that is the followers of Russell.
And because they think this is right around the corner, I mean, this is written in 14, and they've always been saying that 1914 is the cutoff date. Like, that's when it's all going to be finished.
But what's this got to do with the fallen angels? Because the passage says they're in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. So all of this speculation wraps around the concept of what the great day is. In other words, times and seasons. 14's gone by, so this must be the time. So what, to be explicit, in case you're not following what we're saying about the fallen angels, what do they say here when you get down to it about?
Because they have this belief in 1911 that the fallen angels also get a second chance. They also are going to be tested, and so they're being let loose so that God can see whether or not they're have a change of heart and want to now be obedient servants.
So the second chance
that's all
idea,
invention too.
We've seen that in our videos before. We've seen that Nelson Barber taught the second chance for the billions of the dead, and the Watchtower still says there's a second chance for the billions of the dead.
Yeah.
In order for God to judge them properly, they have to come back to the earth. But
back
they have
then, it for the angels too.
Well, let's read that passage
the
where
it
gets very explicit in paragraph 2 on page 124.
So they say, let's see. While others who show their loyalty to God will mark themselves as worthy, presumably, of everlasting life, it may be something in connection with the saints that will constitute the test of these angels, the fallen angels. This will be the key, the secret connected with the awful time of trouble, which the Bible tells us will mark the conclusion of this age, and which will constitute the forerunner or beginning of the new dispensation. That was in the Watchtower of 1911.
And then they say in capital letters,
the test is on. That's for the fallen angels.
So 1914, we're in the Great Tribulation now. The war is the proof of it. And what you have to expect if you're a Russellite is the direct attack of demonic spirits. In fact, the fallen angel spirits. Well, this is something I didn't know they taught back then. But at the bottom of the page, they add this. Consequently, reasoning along this basis, we reach the conclusion. Oh, let me back up a bit. And in order to be tried at all, that is, put on trial, these fallen angels, must have certain liberties granted to prove them, that is, to test them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there would be, what does that say? Where would be their trial?
So this is strange reasoning too.
Let's read to the end, though. Consequently, reasoning along this basis, we reach the conclusion that the trial of those fallen angels is in the near future. This is from the standpoint of 1911, and therefore 1917 when the book is published.
Yeah.
Perhaps to some extent already begun. In what way? He that hath ears, let him hear.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the bottom line of all of this is to frighten the Russellites of that day into total loyalty to Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize how ironic this is, that the same frightening and the same scare tactics are still being used now to instigate deeply into Jehovah's Witnesses the fear of the governing body.
But you can understand now also why they think that the fallen angels need a second test. It's the same way they reason about people who are resurrected. Now they get another chance, and we see how they react to God.
Yeah.
This is
It's blasphemous.
this, and then they say, well, otherwise they're not really being trialed. They don't have a trial. Yes, everything they did beforehand is the way they are.
We've of course spoken strongly that in some of the videos we'll link at least one of them at the end. The paradise purgatory idea.
Yeah.
Which is unique to Barber and to Russell. I've never found any other evidence of that in the interpretation of Revelation 20. But this is all an affront to Jehovah himself. The real Jehovah, as opposed to the Jehovah of the Watchtower, is an omniscient being. He doesn't need to watch what you do in order to know how to treat.
He's not reacting to you.
So you don't even seem to be aware here. You're blissfully unaware that the salvation process for human beings involves God instigating it.
Yeah.
Are we to assume, therefore, that he instigates a salvation process for the angels, the fallen angels as well? It's blasphemous.
One other little thing here, which you asked at the beginning, how do they apply the part of the scripture that said, on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree? Symbolically, the earth represents organized society, the sea, disorganized masses, the trees, the household of God. Like
Us.
But it's just arbitrary. I mean, you wouldn't get that from reading the text in Revelation. This is still the way they do things. They just state, this represents that, and that. And you're supposed to just believe them.
So the fallen angels idea even took us by surprise. It's a shocker because you realize that's reasoned out or teased out of the idea that it's up to you. So an angel therefore can change his mind at any point. But that you get that from the idea that human beings can just flick a switch and become believers or get past their unbelief.
But it's not the work of God.
It's not the work of God, who is the one who is in us to will as well as to work. Philippians 2:13.
It's all of grace.
All of grace. Yeah. What's our link?
We're going to put two links in. The first one being one called "Is J.W.'s Paradise Purgatory Biblical? Did Christ buy us a 1,000-year trial?" And the second one is "The Watchtower's Present Truth Until 1899. The Kingdom Came in 1878 and Armageddon Over by 1914.
Armageddon was to end by 1914, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See you next time.